Okay, so video number 2, guys. Now we're going to go back to reviewing the slope. So if you remember, slope is our rate of change. So quarter 2, we were all sitting down and I told everybody to remain in your seat without moving your body or your chair and run to the door. And anybody that leaves, you won't get in trouble. You guys remember that? Was anybody able to do it? No. Because the first thing you have to do in order to run somewhere or go somewhere when you're seated is what? You got to get up. You got to rise. So with our slope, it's the same thing. You're going to rise before you run. Now your rise, what they're talking about is a direction. The direction that you're rising is your Y value. So your Y is your rise. Now, I know that can seem confusing because we're always talking about putting the X first, but remember the other videos we talked about? When you're doing the slope, you have to reverse it. When you're talking about the constant proportionality, which is the same thing as your rate of change, you reverse it only in those situations. When you're creating a table, when you are plotting your points on a graph, you are still following that same go along my X value first and then my Y value. But when you're trying to find the slope, reverse it. Think slope means I have to get up before I can move forward. So I'm seated in my chair right now. So before I can do anything else, I got to get up and then I can start walking. So kind of think of it that way. Okay. So with that in mind, our rise is over our run. Our Y is over our X. You're going to use this whenever you are plotting your points. Over here, this is when we have our ordered pairs. So remember, we did ordered pairs. When we have an ordered pair, this is what we do. So the first thing that I've told you to do consistently is to label your points. So we're going to look at the points as our first example. This is my first set of points, and these are my second set of points, which means I'm going to label this as my X1, and this is my Y1. Remember, my first set of points, I give them the 1. My second set of points, I give them a 2 because they're second. X2 and Y2. Before you start using the formula and substituting your values, you need to label them. Give them a name. So you can give them a last name. So think of number 5, that's his first name, but what family does he belong to? He belongs to the X1 family, okay? So give them a last name first, then it makes it easier to substitute. So then I'm gonna say my X1 and my Y1, my X2 and my Y2, I'm gonna say Y2 minus Y1. I go back to their last names. My Y2 is here, which is 9. I keep my subtraction sign, and then I look for my Y1, which is 7.5, or 7 5/10. Because remember, 8th graders, future 9th graders, future graduates, we are not saying 7.5. We're past that. We're saying 7 5/10. Then you look at your next values, your X's. My X2, which is here, that's a 6. And my X1 is 5, sorry. See, even I make mistakes. So I have my X2, which was 6, and my X1, which is 5. Still keep your subtraction sign. So I'm going to say 9 minus 7 5/10. What is that? You can use a calculator. Okay. I hope you didn't say 2.5. 1.5. Or 1 5/10. I'll put it up here. 1 5/10 divided by 6 minus 5 gives me 1. So my slope is 1 5/10 over 1, or Remember, if it's a 1 on the bottom, we can just drop the 1 and keep the top. So for the first one, my slope is 1 5/10. Okay? That is how you figure that one out. All you're doing is taking this formula and you're substituting using your points. Easy. Let's look at this one. Equations are a lot easier because when we're looking at an equation, use black. Keep it consistent. Okay, remember that? Y equals mx plus b. But what did I say m stands for? What is the m? We've said it many, many, many times. What is the m? The m is our rate of change, our slope. Okay? So when I have an equation, all I'm doing is looking for what is in place of my m. Well, what's in place of my m? 2.5. Well, sorry, 2 and 5, 2 over 5. So, my slope is 2/5. That's probably the easiest one because all you're doing is just looking for this. Looking for this value next to your x, that's it. Okay? Down here, for your graph, you're gonna need to actually find the points. So you're going to go along your line and determine where are my points. Where do I see this line and this line intersect on the line that's given to me. So this line is given to me. I'm going to look here. 1, if I go up to where the line is, it's not exactly crossing at that T. So that means I can't use that one. I'm going to look at 2. Does it cross? No. 3, does it cross? Not quite. 4, does it cross? Look, we made a T. It crossed right here. Yes, see that T right there in the middle? I don't know if I can zoom in. That T in the middle means that it's a point. It crossed. Let's look at 5. Did we see a T? Nope. Do we see the blue T? I don't see a blue T. I don't see a blue T there. What about here? I finally see another blue T. So the points that I see are here at 4 and 2, and here at 8 and 3. So there's 2 ways we can do this. We can make our right triangle, which we've done before, and we can say, okay, rise over run, okay, because we always go up and then to the right. So you're going to go up or down, but you also need to make sure you're going to the right. So let's do that one first. I'm going to go up. I went up how many times? So let's make the triangle first. We'll do that first. I went up, and then since my point is here, I don't have far to go up. So this is my triangle. How many spaces did I go up? Let's count. I went from here and I went up 1. So far I rose 1. So I'm gonna put a 1 here because I went up 1 space. How many spaces did I go to the right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which means my x value for my slope is a 4. So my slope for this line is 1 over 4. Not a fraction. Don't look at these as a fraction. We're looking at them as rise over run. That means I rose 2 spaces, so I got up 2 spaces, and then I ran 5 to the right. I just went somewhere, went to the store. You went to Lucky Star. I go up 1, which means I walked up 1 space to get out of the school building, and I walked 4 spaces to the right to get to that Wendy's, okay? That's exactly the same thing that we're doing, all right? take a picture, screenshot, rewind the video if you have to. This is what the examples, this is what the assignment for number 2 is on. So make sure you remember this. The notes that we had on this are called comparing functions, okay? I'm also going to upload the notes that we did back in quarter 2, just in case you left them at school. I'll upload those as well. And then I'm trying to think if I found a graphic, well, you don't really need a graphic organizer because in the notes, there is a graphic organizer. But if you have any questions or you forget, especially with this, because I noticed that sometimes I saw some of you going down, which is fine, but then you went to the left. You can do it that way, but you're gonna have to know how to switch things. So rather than doing that, make sure that you're going up or down and to the right. Make sure whatever you do, you're doing it to the right. So let me give you an example real quick before I end the video of what I mean. So in this situation, we probably have a negative slope. So if you remember, we talked about what looks like a negative slope and what's a positive slope. So I'm gonna look at, do I have any points that cross? Did I not make any points that cross? Okay. So I have a point here that crossed, and I have a point here that crossed. So in this situation, I am not going to go here, go up and to the left. I am not gonna go here up into that. I'm not gonna do that either. Here, I'm gonna go down, which is fine. And the reason I went down is because I know that I need to go to the right. And now I draw my line to the right. If I were to do it the other way, that means I'm going up and to the left, which is fine. But like I said, you need to know how to switch that. And because we didn't do that in class, we focused on making sure that our right triangle was drawn in the correct position on our line. We're not going to go back and try and invent something new. We've already learned it this particular way. Continue doing it this particular way. This is the easiest way for you to figure out the slope of the line. Always make sure that when you're doing the run part, you're going to the right, okay? In this situation, like I said, this is when you are going to the right, but you went down first. The other one, we went up and to the right. This one, we went down and to the right, okay? So like I said, watch this video as many times as you need to give you a reminder. That's what these videos are for. And then attempt the assignments. Please do not stop doing the assignments just because you did it one time. I don't want to see 50% and 40% and 20%. I know you guys can do better than that. I want you to continue to try, just like when we were doing our quizzes for our tests on Fridays. If you don't get a 70, continue to try. Keep doing it until you get that 70. You have time, you have resources, you have me, you have the notes, you have videos, and you have someone at home that could possibly help you. You have a lot that you can call on. You guys are 8th grade. You're going to be 9th grade next year. The responsibility will fall more on you to make sure that you are getting what you need to understand the material, because I want to see each and every one of you graduate from high school in another 4 years. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video. If you have questions, again, email me. Put the question on Google Classroom. Do not hesitate, okay? You've got this. Get better than a 70 or keep trying until you do. I'll see you guys next week.